Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. It is December 10th going into the 11th, depending on where you're at. And tonight I will be sharing true paranormal stories from the web. Also, it's the 10th going into the 11th of December. Sorry about that. I'm still getting used to this format and this time slot, so trying to be accurate as I can with the description here. So I've some exciting news for the week as far as shows go. On the 12th going into the 13th, basically Monday night, Tuesday morning, I will be having Matt Sowell on with me to talk about the paranormal. Looks like that's going to be a two-part thing. We'll talk about the paranormal in general to start with on that episode, and then we'll do another episode at some point talking about his experiences. And then, of course, on the last show of the week, Wednesday going into Thursday, I'm happy to announce I will be having Derek, the Night Stalker, on with me to talk about the Marvel Comics event, Avengers vs. X-Men, the one that we've been leading up to for quite a while now. So, looking forward to all those shows, and I think it'll be a good week. And so thank you all for being here and listening. And I think with that, I can get started. So I have 3 stories to share tonight, and found them a couple hours ago. And so let me get to this first one here, and we will start. And again, thank you all for adjusting to this new schedule. I know it's kind of on the edge of days, but it's been working really well for me, so I appreciate everyone working with me on this. So this one says, just as a preface, I have been experiencing supernatural phenomena since I was about 5. This is my first time sharing on a website. I have chosen to start with something small and simple that won't take long to explain, as this didn't actually happen to me, but my husband. This happened a couple of years ago, on New Year's Eve. It was after 3 a.m., maybe. I was asleep with my husband in the bed. My husband said that something woke him from his sleep. His side of the bed faces our dresser mirror. He said that in the darkness of the room, he could see my silhouette in the mirror. He thought to himself, that's my wife. But then he realized that this couldn't be me. You see, I'm only 5'1", but the shadow version of me was as tall as our closet, at about 7 feet tall. He rolled over to see me still in bed, but the shadow was now gone. He didn't tell me about the incident until a few months later. He told me he didn't want me to be frightened, which was sweet of him, but kind of makes me laugh given all the high strangeness I've witnessed over the years. That's my story for today. Thank you for letting me share. And that's the end of that story. I like that one in that it happened to someone else that didn't have experiences, that is married to someone that apparently does have many experiences. And in the way that they didn't want to frighten the person, the writer of that story, when that person has already had several experiences. But I really wonder how he knew that was his wife's silhouette. If it was just a shadow and a shape, could it really have been? I mean, I feel like I don't know. I feel like that could be really any shape of a woman or a person, really, in that reflection. And I wonder too, it said that it was in the mirror, so it was like a shadow but in the mirror, the reflection of the mirror, which is also amazing. I haven't heard too many stories of shadow figures within mirrors, but that's so that's odd as well. I don't know what else to make of that one, but that's quite the story there. And I find it ironic that it happened to the person that didn't have experiences until then, apparently, as opposed to the person that did. So neat little story there. Uh, I'm glad that nothing else really happened to frighten anyone anymore. But as far as how to explain that, I don't know. Um, but so yeah, that's the first story for today. Thank you all again. I see you all in the stream listening. Thank you all for being here. And yeah, so I guess I'll move on to the second story here and go from there. And I have a couple little things I can talk about as far as my own experiences recently. I'll end the show with that. So, um, so let's see here. This one says, I live alone with my 7-year-old. I sleep downstairs and he sleeps upstairs. Our complex is huge, made up of a ton of buildings, all built in very obviously different decades. Ours is one of the oldest and very creaky, and I am a crazy light sleeper. So whenever he sneaks up in the night, I wake up pretty much instantly. Last night I was lying in bed and I heard the steps around upstairs that always wake me when he gets up in the night. I was thinking about whether he was going to go right back to sleep or if I was going to have to intervene. Then I heard him come downstairs, very creakily, it says, and knew he must be lonely or afraid, and that I was going to have to get up with him and help him get back to sleep. I opened one eye without moving just to see what was going on and saw a child close to his size, smaller actually, but I didn't clock it in at the moment, in a big, puffy coat with their back to me, reaching up with one arm and feeling around the bottom edge of a Tiffany-style lamp I have on a table at the bottom of the stairs. I was wondering why he had taken the time to put on his big coat, and thinking he was about to turn on the lamp and ask me to walk him back upstairs. But then I opened the other eye, and the child was completely gone. At this point, I got up and went upstairs, and my son was still asleep. It didn't feel like I had woken up from a dream. It felt like I had been lying there, listening and thinking for a while. I've scared myself before in the night, reading or watching scary things, like anyone does, and getting nervous something might be in the room with me. But when I would look, there would be nothing. This time I wasn't scared at all. And when I realized nothing was there, I was very surprised. I had actually really seen something. It was a very distinct shape, and it was moving pretty energetically. That's why I thought it was my son, afraid in the night. I should also mention I have string lights going down the stairway that I put up so he wouldn't be scared to come to me in the night if he needed to. So it's actually pretty well lit down here, especially opening your eyes after they've been shut for a while. It wasn't like I was making out vague shapes in the dark. Anyway, I've been trying to search around today about seeing things or apparitions with only one eye and yielding no really helpful results, so I figured I'd share here. Not the scariest encounter, but I can't stop thinking about it. And that's where that story ends. And that's an odd one. It sounds like they were pretty sure it wasn't their kid. I don't know what was going on with the jacket or with trying to reach up at the lamp without just standing up and reaching for it. But then again, I'm not really around kids a lot, so I don't really know how they think so much. But it does sound like it was not the writer's kid. So that is a weird thing. and I don't know how to explain that. Um, it's just an odd little sighting there of something in a figure. I wonder about the jacket, um, as well. I don't know, but yeah, that's eerie. Yeah, it is an odd one. Um, I don't know if they really felt watched all the time. I think they were just talking about um, when they watch scary things, when they watch scary videos. It seemed like they were talking about that more. It seemed like they were saying that they they watch all those kinds of things and they get weird feelings from that, but that they say that's just normal for them. But then there was no weird feeling when they had this experience. Of course, until after when it was over and they whatever this was suddenly just vanished. That would be startling if nothing else. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe some other kid there in some other time, or who knows for sure. Um, but yeah, odd story there. So I have one more here, and this one to me is amazing, and you'll see why I think when I read it. So this one says, my two brothers and I share two weird memories from when we were about 10 years old. The first one, we were playing outside in the street, and we suddenly saw a running shadow. We then tried to follow it, and as it turned a corner, it disappeared. This one happened a few times, actually. The second one, we were playing in the snow, and this deformed human shape, blob shaped shadow, appeared. We threw snowballs at it, and it just vanished. One of my brothers also claims that he saw one a few years ago. I don't know what to think of these memories. They don't really make sense, and they are like my only specific memories from that time period. What do you all think? It says for FYI, my brothers and I are around 26 years old. And that's where that story ends. So it sounds like memories of when they were kids of shadow figures. And three of them seeing them at the same time, and then the one brother seeing them after that. Um, I feel bad in the way that the other time they saw one, the shadow figure, they threw snow at it and it just vanished. But it sounds like, I'm guessing, they were outside in the middle of the day and they saw these shadows, which is odd. A lot of times you hear about them and they're seen at least in the dark or the semi-darkness, and this doesn't sound like that at all. It sounds like they were seen several times and in the daylight. So I don't know about that. That's really odd. But it's amazing that there was three of them there to witness these things. The only other thing that I'm thinking of, and I don't know for sure if that's what they're implying, but the writer seems to think that they're odd memories, almost as if maybe they're some kind of false or screen memory. It's kind of a feeling I got from the way they wrote that, but I don't know for sure if that's what they meant. Regarding their memories and the memories of their brothers, I don't know, but still, it's a quite the perfect memory to have among three people about these multiple encounters with the shadow figure and having the same memories. So I don't know what that one. That one to me is almost the strangest one of all the stories tonight. In that there were three people that witnessed the same things, at least most of the times, and then one person that saw the shadow figure. Let's see. I'm just checking back on the story here. Says that one of their brothers also claimed that Okay, so one of the brothers apparently saw a shadow figure a few years ago. So this was closer to current time, where they this was like in their early 20s when one of them saw this shadow figure. But the other times was back when they were all around 10 years old. So I don't know what to make of that one. Again, just the way it's written makes me think that they don't feel like those memories are correct or right or something, or maybe they're just maybe they were not. I suppose when the things were happening at the time, maybe it didn't seem quite so weird. Maybe, and it only seemed weird years later after the fact, and that's what makes those seem like strange memories where they don't fit. I could maybe that kind of makes some sense in a way. Like something happens that you don't think is weird until long after you've had the experience. I believe I've heard of that before, but yeah, that's just I don't know about that story, but I am glad that if that did happen the way that the writer and their brothers remember, that at least there was multiple witnesses there. Um, yeah, that's true too. Derek says I'd be interested in if their parents ever saw anything when they were younger too. Could be a family thing or something. Yeah, could be. Um, so I don't know with that one either. That one, like I said, to me that seemed like the strangest story of all. That's why um sort of ended with it tonight. So, but yeah. So those are the stories I had for tonight. Now, as far as for me, I've had a couple of times recently, um, where I've heard the um the the kitchen cabinet doors sounds like one of them is closing, like it was open and then it would be closed, almost the way it would happen with Logan doing it, but then she was always right by here, right by me, or clear across the apartment. A few nights ago, I was on I was I was actually on a show on kind of guest co-hosting a show on Trouble Minds Radio, and there was this weird bump or knock as I was talking, um, and it didn't make sense. It wasn't Logan because usually when she's moving around, either on the table behind the computer or on the counter behind the table that has a computer on it, that makes all kinds of noise. Um, so you wouldn't just hear one little sound like you did and like I did that night. Yeah, so um I remember APOC. I think APOC heard it, and maybe she can verify if she heard it or not. I think she said she did, but I could be wrong on that. I don't remember now. But it was loud enough where it seemed like it was audible. So no, okay. So I just heard it, but yeah, it was just odd timing. Um, as I was talking on a show, and then all of a sudden there was this knock. Okay, you asked me about it. Okay, thank you, APOC. I couldn't remember what the detail was. Oh, so Derek thinks he heard it, but maybe not. Okay. Either way, um, it was just really didn't make sense given that it wasn't Logan, and I don't have anything else in here. And but yeah, I've been hearing just odd little knocks and bumps around here lately. So, and then of course there was my seventh sighting of the blue light on the Friday after Thanksgiving. Now, also since then, I have had two different nights where I was sitting in here talking with friends online, and I started seeing these little, almost like spark, almost like they were little lights that just sparked in and out of view. And actually, that's how it was the first night. Now, the second time, this happened like I don't know, a week or two after that. um, it looked like little pools of light that were appearing and fading in and out on my ceiling, in my living room, dining room space here, and they were just kind of there and then gone, and then they'd appear somewhere else and then they'd be gone. So I guess you could say I've had some minor activity around here lately. So, but I don't mind that because I've never really gotten any bad feelings from anything around here except for a couple things that I dealt with. So, um, yeah, seems like there's been activity here lately. So, I've also had some dreams. I have dreams once in a while about places that I used to live in. But the weird thing about those dreams is sometimes when I have them, the houses are not the same as they were, and they're either bigger or they're just changed. And it feels like more than a dream. I sort of wonder if that's some kind of astral travel. I wonder about, I don't know, other dimensions or something, because I've had a couple like that within the last month or so of dreams of places that I knew. There were parts of the place that I knew, but then the rest of the place didn't look familiar. Um, that's a question I'm just thinking now. Are there buildings that have different shapes due to energy fields in other dimensions? That's a interesting question there. But it makes me wonder because, like I said, I've had so many dreams where these places that I know were bigger than they actually are, and some cases there are people in them that I didn't recognize. Sometimes there are people there I do recognize, I do know, but they were not memories of actual events, and it was almost like a parallel alternate reality kind of thing. So, yeah, so that's basically, uh, let's see here. That's basically it. Um, okay, so Derek is saying, I've never seen the movie, but it's called Annihilation. But when people describe something called the shimmer, it reminds me of these pools of light you're talking about. And it's a dimensional thing, I think. Interesting. Yeah, could be. So, um, but yeah, that's basically all I have for today. Um, and I think that's all I have. Yeah, I think that's all the experiences I've had recently too. So, but thank you all for listening, and I'll be back tomorrow with paranormal news on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care, everyone.